A warm welcome back to Brands Hatch and our final Caterham race of the weekend. Sadly, the good news is it's the Sevens. We started the day with them. We started the day with a little bit of inclement weather. The weather didn't know what it was doing. Wet tyres, dry tyres. Now it's very definitely dry. If we've got time, we'll grab a quick word with Stephen Nuttall. Stephen, a first and a fourth so far this weekend for you. This time, no decision about tyres. It's all good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking that way. It's going to stay dry till the end, so straight, clean race, hopefully.
Fastest lap for you in the first race of the day, so the pace is there and a consistent weekend for you too.
Yeah, just need to do another strong result in this race. You're right, the pace. A few setup changes overnight. The car's feeling much better, so much happier. Yeah, looking forward to a good scrap.
Will and you have had a great tussle, haven't you, and are having a great tussle for the championship?
Yeah, over the years as well. So we've met each other in various formulas over the years. Super Sports in 2015, I think it was. And then the R300s a couple of years back as well. So yeah, and a great scrap this year. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
We hope you have a safe race. Have a good one. We'll see you on the podium. Thanks very much, Stephen. We're going to have a quick whiz over, if we can, to Will Smith. Thank you very much. Sorry for getting in the way. Will Smith, top point scorer on the day so far, a 1 and a 2 so far on the weekend. Good point scoring and looking pretty good as we develop the season.
Yeah, it's been a strong weekend. We had a good round last time out as well. A bit disappointed earlier with the way we lost the win, but that's racing. Steve, lining up with Steve, a couple of the key competition are further down the field. It's going to be hard to beat Steve. He's been racing a long time. He's very good, but we've had some great rattles in the past. Hopefully it'll be a clean, fast race and hopefully we'll come out on top.
You sound disappointed. Talk us through what happened and from your perspective.
Unfortunately I got overtaken under the yellow flag. It's all been dealt with and it's in the past now. I'm just looking forward to this race.
Okay, the whistle's gone, which means I've got to go. Good luck for the race, Will. Thank you for talking to us. That's Will Smith. So the final Caterham race of the weekend. As you can see, everybody loves their Caterham racing. We do. We know you're going to as well. Grid. Let's go back up and join Scott Woodwist once again. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, this should be a belter. The first two are anything to go by. This third one should be absolutely sensational. Now, before we get to the grid, there's something I need to mention, of course, because we heard William Smith mention overtaking under yellow flags. That involved Gordon Sawyer. Now then, Gordon, as a result of that, has been disqualified from the second race, which means that he has to start this final race from the back of the grid. And so he'll start what should be, by the looks of things, what's the position going to be if I look on the thing? 13th on the grid. Should be alongside James Murphy if he's there, which he is. So all 14 cars are back on the grid, thankfully. Also, so is Chris Hutchinson, who had that wheel come off and off at Clearway. So thankfully that's been resolved by the DPR team, and he's back on the grid on the 6th row. But again, the grid is set by the results of race 2. And so because of that, who lines up on the pole position on the front row of the grid, William Smith alongside him on the front row. Then it's Jake Swan-Dixon and Rob Watts on the second row, followed by Henry Heaton and Graham McDonald. He'll be one to watch from 4th and 6th to see if he can make some progress from row 3. Tom Eden and Chris Aubrey come next, ahead of Neil Fraser and Alex Jordan to round out the top 10 positions. And then some drivers to watch out from towards the back. Johnny Jarrett in 11th place starts alongside Chris Hutchinson, who's back in 12th. And then Gordon Sawyer, again, probably the man to watch from the rear, as will also be Superman himself, James Murphy, because he's done this more than once in Caterhams, so watch for James from the back. But actually, it's James who will start in 13th place on the inside of row 7. Outside of row 7 is Gordon Sawyer. So James Murphy's car at the back is the black car with the orange roll cages and stripes, and it's the black and yellow, more kind of goldish, predominantly black and gold car, two-tone of Gordon Sawyer towards the right-hand side at the back of the field. So Stephen Nuttall, who leads them away, he was the champion leader coming into the weekend. And for those who might be joining us, happy to join us for our final race only for the first time for the set. Where have you been? Because the 2 races we've had have been absolutely sensational from start to finish. And so the third race should promise to be even better, particularly when you've got some fast drivers towards the back out of position to carve their way through. I would expect in the first couple of laps they will pick off most of the cars in front of them to get to the front view. William Smith, including Jake Swan-Dixon, Rob Watts and Henry Heaton. So Henry must have been a bit aggrieved by the fact that he was a bit further back in that race than he would like to have been. When he finished that race, he ended up being in 5th place, of course, as a result. Graham McDonald also worked his way up into P6, so the Caterham CEO, I always refer to him as kind of like a modern-day Peter Wheeler, for those who have longer memories of the days of the incredible TVR Tuscan Challenge, when the then TVR boss Peter Wheeler, as well as other TVR personnel, I think Ben Samuelson, who was the media guy, also did some racing there. But Peter Wheeler used to be quite a long-standing racer in of his own TVR Tuskers. I think it was one year when he was developing the new AJP8 engine. He was the only driver in the field with that engine, whilst everyone else had the older Rover V8s. Running was done by Peter. Everyone else then had the new AJP8, but it was he that had a season running it because, well, he was the chairman. He used his car as the test mule, so to speak. But that's TVRs. This is Caterham, another great British sports car make. And of course, these Caterhams they've got 180 brake horsepower, 2 litre Ford-derived Duratec engine, which has been tuned by Caterham. They have dedicated and bespoke-made Avon slicks and wet tyres, dedicated and new for this year for 2021. Uprated suspension. They have a flat shift gearbox, sequential as well, of course. They also have an increased rev limit on the engine, and of course the enhanced suspension over last year as well. These cars per lap are anywhere between 1 to 2 to even as much as 5 seconds a lap faster than they were last year, and the lap records at the circuit so far this year have been tumbling. So some great action all the way through. So, the last few cars in the back. Watch for Hutchinson, Murphy and Sawyer at the back, but watch for Stephen Nuttall and William Smith at the front of the field for the final time this weekend for Caterham Racing and for the 7 Championship UK. They're side by side at the front of the grid. Red lights are out, and it's a decent start from the front row. Good start from the set outside the row, as I'd expected from William Smith, but Stephen Nuttall in the second phase gets to run. Oh, it's 5 abreast for 4th place behind. That's never going to work. Goodness me, they're going to kick off already. Okay, that's how we're going to play. Right, I'm going to enjoy this. So 20 minutes then, up towards the right-hander at Druids for the first time. And Nuttall third. Jake Swan-Dixon currently has it. It's now up to 4th, it looks like. Almost 4th for Rob Watts. But there goes Graham McDonald looking up the inside. He locks up under brakes. Meanwhile, James Murphy's ahead of Gordon Sawyer. Sawyer follows him through. As for Hutchinson, he's got past Chris Aubrey. And they're both trying to get past Johnny Jarrett at the back of the field as well. So, leaders then coming up through the right-hander at Surtees, then through McLaren, Clearways, and then Clark Kerr for the first time. There goes James Murphy past Tom Eden in the bright yellow car. One car running wide. That was Graham McDonald. He always finds himself in bad situations, this Graham. He gets himself into a top position, then he falls backwards. It's the luck this weekend after he's off right here at Paddock Hill Bend under brakes in race 1. Had to carve his way back through the field to get himself, I think it was high as 7th or 8th in that second race, but then of course benefited from the disqualification of Gordon Sawyer to get into P6 for this grid. They turn in through the hairpin at Druids, up the top of the hill. And so Nuttall from William Smith, Jake Swan-Dixon, Henry Heaton's 4th, then Rob Watts 5th, and already, as I predicted, 6th and 7th, making light work of the cars around them are both James Murphy and teammate Gordon Sawyer. Of course, both of those drivers are part of the DPR squad. There goes James Murphy. Gordon Sawyer will follow him through in a second. Oh, big time for Gordon Sawyer up the inside of Rob Watts. There he goes. So that's a move done. So that's another car picked off for the pair of them. Meanwhile, the leaders come back down the pit straight. Here comes Nuttall trying to escape. Swan-Dixon goes for second on the outside line. Henry Eaton thought about the inside to make it 3 abreast into Paddock. But now trying to take the wide line into Paddock is not going to work for Swan-Dixon. He lets Henry Eaton through, and he might be alongside for second place. Could get 2 for the price of 1 exiting Paddock Hill Bend. He's side by side into the hairpin at Druids. Is he through? Yes, he is. Great pass from Henry Eaton. Gets 2 cars in 1 move. And now his next target has got to be the leader, Stephen Nuttall. He's going to chase after him here. See if he can try and hunt him down. But watch out for James Murphy. I don't call him Superman for nothing. He did this at Thruxton a few years ago. He had an incident in the first race, started at the back of the grid, charged through to 3rd, and to celebrate, he laid across top of his roll cage and stuck his arm out like Superman, hence the nickname. That's because he can charge his way through from the back of the grid to the front in no time at all. He's in a hurry here. He knows he's going to try and pick up some points here, and Gordon Sawyer has to as well. Meanwhile, for the lead, they're side by side just on the exit of the camera. And now into Paddock Hill Bend they go. He's thought about it, but again, we'll go for that undercut like he got on both Swan-Dixon and Smith. It's going to work. Great momentum off the corner. They're going to be side by side, wheel to wheel into the braking zone at Druids. Side by side into the apex, and Henry Heaton is through into the lead. So Heaton hits the front here in race 3 at Brands Hatch. Look at James Murphy though for 3rd place. Round the outside of Will Smith, he goes through into 3rd. He really is on a charge. So from the back of the grid to 3rd for James Murphy, and he's not finished yet. He's going to defend from Will Smith. Sawyer's up to 5th as well, past Jake Swan-Dixon. Rob Watts is now 7th in the grey and fluorescent yellow car at the back of the field. There goes Gordon Sawyer. He's not hanging around either, diving up the inside for 4th. And Paul William Smith has been shuffled back from what was a front row start down to 4th. So Heaton leads. Nuttall 2nd, Murphy 3rd, Sawyer 4th incredibly. Both of those cars in the 3rd and 4th positions from the back of the grid. And Jake Swan-Dixon with a big dive into Paddock Hill Bend. He was really late on the brakes on the inside line. But William Smith carries the momentum and holds on to the position. And now Swan-Dixon's under threat from Rob Watts. Up at the top of the circuit, round the hairpin. And then back down the hill again towards Graham Hill. And now, incredibly, James Murphy thinks, right, my next target, you might be the championship leader, you might be my teammate, don't care, I'm going for second place. Let's see how James Murphy handles this one. So, here they go. There's Sawyer. There's Smith of the chrome orange Caterham, number 27, former Caterham champion himself. Jake Swan-Dixon there in the mix just behind him. Rob Watts is right behind. The rest of the pack is starting to close up a little bit behind him. Tom Eden's in the mix. Graham McDonald's not too far behind either in 9th place. There goes James Murphy diving down the outside. He can go around the outside if he can. Takes the high, wide and handsome line. And he does make it stick. Great pass from James Murphy into second place here at Brands Hatch. And Gordon Sawyer thinks, right, my turn. Round the outside. There he goes. What one does, the other one can do just as well. And he's sticking around the outside. But Stephen Nuttall knows not just his teammate. He's one of his main championship rivals. But that's not going to stop Gordon Sawyer diving up the inside. And he's on past Stephen Nuttall now. So down to 4th goes the championship leader coming into the weekend. James Murphy is 2nd. I remember talking to James back at Knock Hill, and he said that what he wanted to do this season was simply just get himself a podium, use this year as a chance to develop, to learn the car, because he comes fresh out of 310Rs when he just missed out on the title last year to Greg Monks, who has been competing this year but hasn't been present for the past couple of rounds. And ever since then, his target was simply just to get himself a podium finish, and he did more than that in the first weekend, as there goes Graham McDonald with a nice move up the inside to make a dive into what is now 8th place at the expense of Tom Eden. So Tom capitulates and lets the boss through. Probably not by choice, but Graham making a decent move to get himself up another position. So he's not too far away from Watts and co, so he'll try and pick his way through if he can. It's a 20-minute race, so we're up now past 5.5 minutes left. 5.5 minutes gone in this race so far. 14.5 to go. Heaton. Oh, big slide there for James Murphy. I think that possibly might be a move there for Gordon Sawyer up the inside, which he has done. Yes, he has. So just out of shot there. The big slide for James Murphy was full indication for Gordon Sawyer to go for a dive. He's done it. And now the top two are going to be nose to tail. Stephen Nuttall's losing touch in 4th place. We've got a car calling into the pits. That's Jake Swan-Dixon into the pit lane. So, actually, Jake Swan-Dixon with problems. I've seen him tumbling down the timing screen. We've also lost Neil Fraser out there as well. So, sadly, Neil Fraser's come to a halt in this race. Still 12 cars going. But Heaton then continuing on to head the pack. Heaton only has 1 win so far this year, and that was the 2 wins this year. That was a brace at Knock Hill that he took. Decent weekend for him. 2 wins in the 2nd in Scotland, so that was a nice trip north across the border. There goes the top 4. There's Smith, Watts, then McDonald, Eden there in 8th position in the bright yellow number 64. 9th for Alex Jordan. And Chris Hutchison might be a bit disappointed with 10th, but he's still learning that car, still getting to grips with it, and I think that was his first non-finish, that 2nd race at Brands Hatch of the year. Now, Gordon Sawyer set the fastest lap of the race, 49.625, the first man yet to go sub 50 seconds in this race. So he's now got the gap down to less than half a second. There it is. So Gordon Sawyer there, flashed with a shot in the gold and yellow two-tone car, or the black and gold two-tone car. He's on the tail of Henry Heaton, and he knows he'll be absolutely fired up after that disqualification in race 2. That will be fueling him to try and get towards the front. And he's not hanging around. He's someone who, if he sees an opportunity, he will go for it any day of the week. And if Henry Heaton shows him at least even just a millimetre too much room at any point inside or outside, Gordon Sawyer will be absolutely all over him. He's all over him now underneath the roll cage. He's going to go to the outside line, and will he make a daring pass down the outside into Paddock Hill Bend? The answer is yes, he will. Look at that, round the outside and even hitting the brakes to sweep past before they even hit the middle pedal into the right-hander at Paddock Hill Bend. And Gordon Sawyer, from the back of the grid, is into the lead here at Brands Hatch. Brilliant stuff from Gordon Sawyer. This is a circuit which we said, coming into the weekend, he always called it his bogey weekend, his bogey circuit. He never really enjoyed being here, and not so much enjoyment for Jake Swan-Dixon either, I'm afraid. His car is in the pit lane, and unfortunately that's his weekend coming to a premature end. His car, not for whatever reason, healthy enough to continue, so unfortunately Jake is out of the race. So, heading towards the second half of this 20-minute race, this final 20-minute race of the weekend, not just for the 7 UKs, but for Caterham as a whole as well. After this, we've still got 2 more races to come, but at the moment, the 7 UKs carry on. Heaton goes for revenge on the outside line. He goes for it, but Gordon Sawyer just a little bit later on the brakes because he's a bit more confident to hold the line, but Heaton's had his classic tactic of going wide into the corner, getting the switch back on the exit, the slingshot up the hill. But Sawyer was wise to that and just decides to hold on to the inside line and prevent any kind of avenue that he wanted to take in order to pull off that move. So Sawyer Heaton. Murphy in third place now. Stephen Nuttall will be back in fourth now, not really wanting to be there. He wants to try and be up in the lead and to try and pick up some strong points. Everyone's starting to spread out a bit here. Let's see if James Murphy can catch up to these two, because at the moment it seems to be all about Sawyer versus Heaton right now in terms of the battle at the front. It's the closest scrap on track at the moment. Heaton back in the slipstream. They both hug the inside line back towards the pit straight, back towards Paddock Hill Bend. Now, Heaton is going wide into the Paddock Hill Bend, so will he try to swing to the inside to get the better slingshot off the corner again? He gets a decent run, closes up a bit more up the hill in the toe, latching onto the slipstream that Sawyer will give him. There's Murphy, car number 3 in position 3, followed by Gordon Sawyer in fourth. And now back in through Graham Hill Bend again. There is Stephen Nuttall. Still 10 and a bit minutes to go in this race, coming up to half distance. These races used to be half an hour, but they've gone for a different format. They used to have 2 30-minute races, as per the 270s and 310s, but they decided to try and mix things up a little bit and try and because these cars were going to be a bit more physical to drive in terms of the increased grip on these cars, therefore the extra G-force, they reduced the race length down to 320 minutes, and it's certainly giving us lots of action because there's lots of urgency for these drivers to try and pick up the positions they need before the timer hits 0. 10 less minutes can really make a difference in a race sometimes, particularly when you've got championships and race wins on the line. Back through Druids. Gordon Sawyer working away at the wheel of his number 91 machine. Still Heaton in second place. And both these two would dearly love to carry on where they are, because I think regardless of the order, it will certainly help not only Sawyer to get back up there, but also for Henry Heaton to, along with Sawyer, gain some points back in the drop scores on Stephen Nuttall. There is Stephen, car 46. Then we've got 5th place for Will Smith, 6th for Rob Watts. There's Graham McDonald in 7th, Caterham CEO. He's come up all the way from the bottom end of the bottom of the ladder in the academy. There goes Graham in car 19. And he's made his way up through Caterham Academy, through Road Sport, through 27, 310, and then of course now into the Caterham 7 Championship UK. He's gone through all 5 ladders, so he now has an understanding as a driver and also as a CEO exactly what his customers experience, and therefore he can communicate that much better going forward to everyone involved. And also it means he can fulfill his own ambitions of being a racing driver, and he's gone all the way up to the top step, and he's pretty much advanced every single step of a ladder per year. So he started back in 2017, then this year he's been in the previous years he was then in 2018 in Road Sport, 2019 in 270, 2020 in 310R, and of course then this year moving up to the 7 UK Championship with these brand new slick tyres. And this battle, he's trying to battle his way back through for 7th place. His 8th, 9th and 10th. It's Eden, Jordan and Hutchinson. Hutchinson of course started back in 12th after he lost the wheel at Clearways in the second race, but he's fighting back to get himself into the top 10. There is Chris, former Caterham champion himself in the back in the days when it was still called the Supersport category. It's the 310R Championship. So he is going to carry on to try and hold on to keep on to the back end of these top 2. Alex Jordan, that very distinctive pink and blue machine. A lock up there for Alex as he gets onto the tail of Tom Eden. They're both working away at the wheel. Now, this is interesting. James Murphy has caught the top 2 now, so he's now latched onto the tail of James Murphy. He will now have an opportunity to get a double slipstream for both Sawyer and Heaton. Here goes Heaton in the toe to the outside line, back towards Paddock Hill Bend like he's done so many times. Once more, Sawyer shows him the edge of the road, and now he's got an extra element to worry about, because now Heaton will have to try and attack Gordon Sawyer whilst trying to defend as best he can from James Murphy. This is going to be ever critical. Down through the drop down to Graham Hill Bend. Stephen Nuttall just doesn't have the outright pace, it seems, in the second half of the race to keep up with these 3, unless they really get into a massive fight. I can't really see Stephen catching up unless they really do close up. And also Henry Heaton's got to be careful, because the more he starts trying to defend and hold himself up by fussing around with James Murphy behind him, the more chance that Gordon Sawyer has to try and pull away at the front of the field here. Back down the pit straight again, and Henry Heaton just dummying around, looking one way then the other. And now they come up the hill, back into the hairpin again. And there is James Murphy trying to cause a fuss in 3rd place. And there's Stephen Nuttall in fourth, the black and gold car. As I mentioned earlier in the weekend, has won a Caterham title in all of the first 4 steps on the Caterham ladder, but hasn't yet won the main title. He came into the weekend championship leader. But again, it's weekends like this where you might look back and think, is that where I could have dropped points? Is that possibly where I lost the title? But I could have performed better. But still 5 3/4 minutes. Anything can happen in this race, including Henry Heaton getting the lead back. Here he goes, back to the outside line. But again, every single time, Gordon Sawyer just has the better line and holds on to the position. Just he's that much better under brakes, and he just finds enough to try and hold on. Now they come back down towards the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Still no way through as they come back into Surtees once more. Just 5 1/4 minutes left in this race. He's keeping up the pressure. Sawyer's been here before in terms of his win tally so far this year. He took a win in the very first race of the season, and that was at Donington Park. And he continues to hold on. James Murphy also won there as well in the second race, and here he goes to the outside line. Now he's done this before, side by side for second place, and just about holding on, but not quite. Henry Heaton showed him the edge of the road and forces Murphy to sit back and try and have another go. They come back down the hill again. Back towards Graham Hill Bend, and they just, yeah, Stephen Nuttall doesn't have the pace to catch up with him, it seems. He's back in fourth, and look at his lap times. He's not, this thing is, I think he's dropped back too far because he's lapping on a similar pace at the front end, but he hasn't got the ultimate pace to catch up to them, even though they're tripping over each other, because they're still lapping about within 2/10 of each other between that top 4. So Nuttall isn't slower than the top 3 cars. He's just hasn't got the extra pace to catch up to them from the gap which has been created by about 1.5 seconds. That's the key thing he's got to watch out for. We looked back earlier on, we saw now that Alex Jordan's got past Tom Eden. And not only that, so has Chris Hutchinson. So Chris is now up into 9th place. He's done that on this lap. And he's going for 8th now down the pit straight. See if he can possibly try and make a move anytime soon. And more points in the bank will certainly satisfy Chris to keep him around the top 5 if possible. Here is our leading trio. Still Sawyer, Heaton and Murphy. Now they turn in through the left-hander at Surtees. 3.5 minutes to go. Murphy just possibly having a look to try and sneak past the pair of them if he can. But it all depends on what Heaton does to try and attack Sawyer and how much Sawyer tries to defend. Back on the pit straight. In the tow. Here comes Heaton again in the slipstream. We've been here before several times. I can tell you what's going to happen. Down the outside, Heaton has a look. Sawyer shows him the edge of the road, and we stay in second place. So Heaton has to try and find another tactic here. With 3 minutes left, he's running out of time to try and take a victory. It'll be his 3rd of the season. It's not what won't help is James Murphy trying to get round the outside. So just tries to hold on as much as he can. Turning through the left-hander down the bottom of the Graham Hill. This is the lead fight. And now Heaton's close as he's ever been down the back straight. Looks to the outside line. Can he go round the outside at Surtees? He'll try and have a move. But still Sawyer being under massive pressure here. And Murphy's in there too, up the inside of Henry Heaton into clearways. They're side by side. The exit will not help Heaton. It will fully help Sawyer. But Murphy getting in the way to battle Heaton is really going to benefit Sawyer. It will not benefit Heaton at all. Murphy really is making a nuisance of himself, to Heaton at least. He gets a tow from his teammate up the inside into second place, and he's got through. So James Murphy, interestingly, into second place then. This really is a bit of a team game a little bit here. James Murphy had to do that to try and force him to lose more points. Heaton, that is. Into the hairpin at Druids. 2 minutes to go now. Back down the hill again. And this now is key because what will happen here, I'm sure, is now Sawyer's in front. James Murphy will probably start to try and back Henry Heaton back towards Stephen Nuttall in these last couple of minutes, because look at the gap that Sawyer's pulling already now. Murphy's going to make it very difficult for Heaton this time, particularly down the pit straight here, where once more I'm sure Murphy will go straight to the inside line, and Heaton, who tries to go to the outside so many times trying to get past Gordon Sawyer, will do exactly the same here. Yep, here he goes. Oops, off the road's gone Johnny Jarrett. He's tagged the wall. Back to our battle for second and third, and down the outside goes Henry Heaton, but yet again he can't go around the outside. Or can he? He's going for it this time, round the outside. They're side by side on the exit. Heaton tries to fight back. He might be a little bit deeper on the brakes as they head up towards Druids. But again, looks for the undercut. Can't quite get there. Tries to almost tap Murphy out of the way, thinking, come on, stop parking on the apex, get a move on. But Murphy is not obliged to do that. He'll probably just sit there until the end of the race now and just allow Sawyer to get through. And I thought he might try and back him up as Nuttall. Nuttall is making a move. He's getting closer. He might be too little too late. He might be not enough to get through. He's desperately trying to squeeze back past, but he still can't get by. And there's damage to the left rear of James Murphy's car. The left rear wing is hanging off. It's really hanging off at the moment. And there's damage to the left rear of James Murphy's car. Through goes Henry Heaton, I think. Yes, round the outside. And that might well be where the wing falls off. So any rubbing that was on the tyre has now ceased. We're on to the last lap of the race. But Henry Heaton, damage or not, James Murphy had to make that move to try and get back the points. And he wondered he might look back at that. That could have been a really crucial pass to make there to get that happen. It might be a sprint to the flag, and Stephen Nuttall might be involved here as well in 4th place. There he is. Now down the back straight, towards 30s for the final time. Sawyer is away and gone with a few corners to go. There he is. For 2nd and 3rd, it's still all action stations, right to the checkered flag. The clock hits 0. It will be the checkered flag this time by. And from the back to the front after disqualification in race 2, Gordon Sawyer is back to the top step. He is delighted with that, and so he should be. Race 3 victory for Gordon Sawyer. 2nd place on the line. Henry Heaton just beats James Murphy. That might be crucial for the championship later on, but crucially they both beat not only James Murphy, but points leader coming into the weekend, Stephen Nuttall. And now it starts to close things back up once again with just 3 meetings left to go for them. 4th place goes to Nuttall, as we know. 5th for William Smith. 6th for Rob Watts. 7th for GMAC. That being Graham McDonald. 8th for Chris Hutchinson. A bit of a quiet drive for him, but he'll take 8th place in the points to go with it. And there's Johnny Jarrett making it to the flag. It's been an eventful weekend for Caterham, hasn't it? And even Johnny Jarrett gets to the flag. I'm sure that car will be back to full health once he gets back to the factory and back to the next rounds, which take place at the beginning of September at Croft. Well, what a weekend it's been for Caterham, and a massive thank you to all the drivers and teams and everyone at Caterham Motorsport for their efforts. Here's the final results. Gordon Sawyer takes the victory in that excellent 7 UK race to round out the weekend for them. 2nd for Henry Heaton, who just holds off James Murphy on the line for 3rd. Stephen Nuttall 4th. William Smith 5th. Then Watts, McDonald, Hutchinson, Jordan and Eden rounding out the top 10, followed by Aubrey and Jarrett, and then we have Jake Swan-Dixon, who retired, as did Neil Fraser. For those watching on the Caterham stream, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to be tuning in or go trackside next time out in September when the Caterhams are back out in action at Croft on September 4th and 5th. You can get tickets on their website. Please do come along. If you can't make it, do come to the stream. But once again, for myself, Scott Woodward, on the Caterham stream, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time at Croft in North Yorkshire for more incredible action from Caterham Motorsport. And for those watching on the Brscc stream, keep watching. 2 more races to come. That's coming up next. But until then, for the Caterham viewers, bye for now.